Okay, if you can put the heading percentages. Alright, so we're just going, this is revision. Guys, this is revision. We're talking about things we've spoken about before, about percentages, converting between percentages and fractions and decimals, comparing those three. At this stage, we're just going to go over it again, and you need to just be very familiar about how to change between what is about all these type of things. Also, just going to make a note that while we're just recording and going through this stuff, if you want to listen, just listen. I can go back to show you the notes up. I'm not using a whiteboard where I can have to rub it off and you never see it. It's all available. It'll be available to you after the lesson. And so if you want to see that, if you just want to listen, that's fine. But just for the sake of the recording, that it doesn't go on and there's lots of dead space, it'd be good if you just sort of go and ask questions and stuff, but we just sort of keep moving along. So it's my, please don't ask me to go back up. I'll go back up after we sort of finish the whole way. That's fair. Alright? Okay, so a percentage is simply a fraction out of 100. And it's written in a different form. You have that 1% sign. It's just a convention that was made because it changes everything to be out of 100, and it's easy to compare. You can simply compare things which are all percentages. There's no problem about changing the denominator and doing all this stuff. You can easily see what's bigger, what's smaller, which has a greater part. Okay, so to make a percentage into a fraction, put it over 100 and then simplify. So if you have a percentage, you just make that the numerator, denominator of 100, and then simplify. If you don't want to do it, the calculator does it for you. But you should just be aware what a percentage actually is. And make sure there are no decimals or fractions in the numerator. So you might be asked, for example, to change 3.5% into a fraction. Okay, don't be confused. That's still a percentage. So you have to do 3.5 over 100, and then make sure that there's no half. And I'll do an example of that. But you're just going to make sure you simplify it correctly, make sure there's no decimals or fractions within the fraction. Alright? So 45%, simply 45 over 100. Good, it's 9 over 20. Simplified version. Very easy. 3.5%. So this is already a decimal. Some students get a bit, oh, this is a decimal. How can I convert a decimal, a percentage into a decimal? They're saying, well, it's a percentage. We want to change it into a fraction or a decimal. So we need to do 3.5 over 100. Right, to get rid of this decimal place, what's the easiest thing to do, Sean? Use the calculator, that's true. But you can either multiply by 10 and then simplify. But in this case, I'm just going to say, if it's 0.5, I can get rid of it by multiplying by 2. So if I multiply top and bottom by 2, we get 7 over 200. But as Sean said, using your calculator, type in 3.5 fraction 100. It does it to the simplest form for the whole numbers on numerator and denominator. Okay? Okay, so just make sure. And at this stage, mental arithmetic is great. It's great to do, great to develop. It quickens your mind, and you need to be able to do things quickly. But certain things, simplifying fractions, something like this, 552 over 999, at this stage, don't use your time anymore to do that. Just use a calculator. The calculator is a tool that helps you to do things quicker. You still need to know how to do things. It just helps you to do things quicker. All right? So it's important to make sure you don't. And 5.5%, so same idea. We simply do 5.5 over 100, which is not really proper notation, so we have to change it. So again, I can multiply top and bottom by 2. So if I multiply top and bottom by 2, 5.5 times 2 is 11. 100 times 2 is 200. 11 over 200. Alright, any questions? We're all good with this? Now the other thing is to convert a percentage to a decimal. It's divided by 100. Shift the decimal place 2 points, and you change the percentage into a decimal. So what you're doing is you're changing the amount to be a fraction out of 100, which is what a percentage is, to making it a decimal, which is an amount out of 1. Okay. So with a decimal, the whole is 1. With a percentage total, the whole is 100%. Yes, Sean? 2.5 half.
That's question 3.
Oh, no, that's question 3. You're thinking about that for a while. It's good we got that. Alright? It's good. It's okay. Okay, so, and to convert a fraction or a decimal to a percentage, all you do is multiply by 100. You type in your calculator or you just work it out. If it's a decimal, to convert a fraction or a decimal to a percentage, just multiply by 100. So if you're converting a decimal to a percentage, shift the decimal place 2 points to the right. If it's a fraction, you can make it into a decimal and then shift the decimal place, or you can just type it into the calculator and multiply by 100, convert it to a decimal. Alright? And generally, again, by this stage, you should be able to recognize certain fractions. Anything over 2, you should be automatically able to do into a decimal. Anything over 4, anything over 3, you should have a pretty good idea. Anything over 5, now anything over 9, you know what it is as a decimal. Yes,
Can you divide like straight? Can you come like over 100%?
like if you talk about the dam water level increased by 200%, which means it's double, 300%. Talk about that. Yep. Again, obviously to compare numbers, they have to be in the same form. I mean, again, when you get practice, you're able to recognize things easily without too much trouble, but for the moment, it's much easier to just convert them all into percentages. Because you just either leave it as a percentage or multiply it by 100. Yes, sir. I mean, no.
Then he said that if it's increased by 200%, double.
Yes.
Well, if it increased by 100%, then
Oh, it's double percentage. Yeah, triples an increase. Good, good. All right, so I'm gonna change these all into percentages. Thank you. 0.22 repeater equals, if I multiply by 100, it's 22.2 repeater percent. Right? Or 22 and 2/9%. Whichever you like. If, next one is 6/23. 6/23 equals, now as a percentage, I am not going to bother to do long division and work out what 6/23 is. So I'm going to just do that quickly. And that is equal to 26.09%. And then we have 1/4. I just hope you know what is 1/4 as a percentage. You should be able to know this. 25%, thank you. 25%. And then the last one's 24. So ascending order, the lowest one is this. So we have 0.2 repeater is the first one. And then what's the next one along? 24% is the next biggest. 1/4 is the next. And then 6/23 is the next. So just like that, we have sorted them into ascending order. Okay? Questions? You all right with this? Okay. Now, exercise 1.13, 1.14, you should be able to knock that over without too much trouble. If in the course of me walking around you want to ask me about recurring decimals or questions that you've done in the book, please ask that. I'm happy to help you with it. And so let's get on with the work quietly, please. Thank you.